So, I walk in there and, start this interview process of telling him my accolades and my licenses and things like that, thinking I'm going to impress him and be the best assistant ever. And after a few minutes of that, he just kind of puts up his hand and says, well, son, that all sounds great, but there's really one question I want to ask you that's going to be really important to this process. Do you know how to operate a bush hog personally? And
Yes.
That was not the question I was expecting, as you might imagine. And I was just thinking in my head, are you kidding me right now? This is not how I was thinking this interview was going to go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Gene Mundy on the Value Proposition Podcast. Glad to be back for this episode. Today, I'm joined with Clark LeMaster, and Clark is a certified financial planner and an accredited wealth management advisor. He's a resident of the Allegheny Highlands, and today we're going to start off talking about building wealth in a small town economy. Welcome.
Thank you, Gene.
When we think about, our community, there's a lot of great things, and obviously a lot of families here planning, put their kids through college, economic, how to take care of their family.
Right.
So I want to have you come in and talk to everybody, use the value proposition as a platform. Before we begin, I need to read a disclaimer, right?
Sure.
So let's start with that. Everybody, this discussion is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Individuals should consult their financial advisor regardless of their specific situation. But Clark's going to come in and talk a little bit about his experience in the community, right? Yes. Why don't we start with, give everybody a little bit of your background.
Sure. I could start with how I got to the Highlands in the first place.
Yeah.
It was back in 2019. I was working at a job in the financial service field in Tampa, Florida, of all places. And I say this jokingly, a lot of people go through life events all the time. They get engaged. They move out of state. They start a new job. Probably not so common to try to cram all that into one weekend.
Yeah.
As fate would have it, that's how I ended up, my first experience living in the Highlands. It all happened in one weekend. I moved up here to be with my now wife, Alyssa. So moved out of state from Tampa, Florida, packed my bags, got up here, had been looking for a place to propose to her. And that place ended up being Falling Spring Falls.
Beautiful location.
Yeah. How lucky was that was here? So I got to have another just really great milestone in my life. Again, the Highlands gave that to me. And then I started work on Monday morning after getting engaged at a previous firm in Roanoke, but a financial service firm in Roanoke, Virginia. Yeah.
So hidden note, Clark is a romantic. Well, let's I'm looking over your certifications, and they're pretty extensive. You're a graduate of Janney Montgomery Scott Financial Advisor Development Program. You're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. You and your wife live here with your son Liam.
Yes.
Right. And you have a partner, Hayden Dudley III.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're not solo. You've got a partnership. Let's talk a little bit about philosophy and how you represent or how you provide, your financial guidance. That it's just not for rich people, right? It's not for the uber wealthy. Everybody could use financial
Sure.
guidance. But one of the things that your team does is, and I want to make sure I get this right, you don't require, or Janney does not require a minimum investment amount for clients. So you're open to
That's
anybody,
correct.
right?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about that philosophy.
Yes. You without naming names, you can turn on the TV. You can look at commercials where they will tell you, just wait until you have X number of dollars.
Yeah.
Then give us a call. Then we can build the portfolio of your dreams. And then we can really get into some serious planning discussions. But that leaves out everybody that's under that threshold.
Right.
So it's personal and it's business. Hayden's never felt that way. There's another advisor in Virginia. He's a really, really big advisor, and he doesn't have an investment minimum. So it's, some financial firms are taking the stance of you have to be at a certain dollar level to be worth my time.
Mm-hmm.
I just personally don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I am in a position in my career where I want to make an impact and I want to help people get to various stages all throughout their financial life. Yeah. So if I leave someone out that's under a certain threshold, it just doesn't fit with me personally. Business wise, it's another opportunity for growth for me, for our team.
When you think about bigger markets, you could literally be practicing in Roanoke, you could be practicing in Richmond, you could be practicing in Fairfax, but you chose our community. And I guess my question is why?
That's a good question. And, it really goes back to the two sides of the coin. There's the personal side. I really feel indebted in a lot of ways to this community for what they gave to me. They gave to me a new chapter in my life, and I'm raising a family here. Yeah. And this really was a brand new start for me. And it helped me develop my career, become an advisor. And now I'm in a capacity where I can really give back. And now my family is growing. We have a little girl on the way. I'm happy to announce as well.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. So,
we're breaking news here, folks.
Yeah. If you guys haven't heard the secret, it's out now. So. But business wise, I also really see this place, the Highlands, as an opportunity. If I'm just thinking with my business head on, the people I talk to, the clients I talk to, reaffirm to me that this area is overlooked. There is money here. There is wealth here. It just may not be in the traditional stock, bonds, mutual funds way of thinking. People have land. People have farmland. I remember one of the first conversations I had with that Hayden Dudley, my business partner. Mm-hmm. I learned a really valuable lesson back in 2019 when I first moved here and started my job at that firm. We were both at the same firm previously, and they had assigned me to him as his assistant. So, I walk in, a guy that didn't cut his own grass in his apartment complex. I'm talking to a guy who's part of the Dudley family, a really entrenched family name in this community and in Botetourt County, but he grew up in the Highlands as well. Mm-hmm. So, I walk in there and start this interview process of telling him my accolades and my licenses and things like that, thinking I'm going to impress him and be the best assistant ever. And after a few minutes of that, he just kind of puts up his hand and says, well, son, that all sounds great, but there's really one question I want to ask you that's going to be really important to this process. Do you know how to operate a bush hog personally? And yes. That was not the question I was expecting, as you might imagine. And I was just thinking in my head, are you kidding me right now? This is not how I was thinking this interview was going to go. So I turned red and just kind of stammered out, no, I don't. I'm sorry.
But I'm willing to learn.
Yes, still willing to learn. If anybody can help me get on a bush hog and figure out that thing, I'm still working on it. But the lesson he was trying to teach me was, you need to listen to your clients here because you're in Southwest Virginia now. Mm-hmm. More often than not, you're going to be having a conversation with somebody who's raising 60 head of cattle, who has a 100-acre farm or a 500-acre farm. That all needs to be part of their financial plan and their future.
Let's talk about that because we do have a diverse population here. When people first come to you, for the first time, what are the most common financial gaps you kind of see? And we don't need to talk about individuals, obviously, but in general, where are those gaps that you see?
One quick answer to that is just personal finance 101 kind of stuff. People really want to know the basics. There's a study that was done by the NEFE, National Endowment for Financial Education.
Thanks.
I think they're based out of Colorado. Yeah, we love acronyms. But they did a study and interviewed a bunch of people that were participating and said, how do you feel about how your financial education experience was in school? 80% of their respondents said they wish they were required to have to take a financial education course when they were in high school.
Financial literacy, yeah.
When have you ever heard somebody just in a conversation say, man, I wish they had forced me to take that class in high school. I wish they had forced me to take more calculus in high school.
Yeah.
I've never had that conversation with anybody. But even my own personal experience, I went to high school in South Carolina, and I felt like that was lacking there. I felt like there was an opportunity just to add that to the mix.
Right.
And really basic things like how much do I need in an emergency fund if I lose my job tomorrow? There's recommendations for different situations like that. How do I even start investing? What does that look like?
Yeah.
Really, that's kind of just showing people what their options are. I think
it's interesting. My daughter's studying at Radford, and side note, and, I asked her this weekend, I said, is there an investors club? Is there, whatever? And she's like, not that I know of. And she's studying accounting.
Yeah.
So she's in the business building. Okay, go back to school and look for these things, right? Because to your point, we don't teach that at the high school level. And I'm not sure how well we teach it at the university level. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's a curious question.
No, I mean, I went to the University of South Carolina, and it was a great program. I graduated with a finance degree, and they teach you how to do things like you can look at stock ABC and look at a price to earnings ratio and see if it's cheap compared to other stocks. But one of the classes that I found most valuable, it wasn't part of the curriculum. It was an elective class that I took, and it was on personal finance 101. Just like credit cards are dangerous. Watch out.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to have to file a tax return. Heads up. This is what a 1040 looks like.
There's that pesky thing, the IRS. Right?
Yeah. We love that. But
I mean, in our community, obviously we have one or two very large businesses that operate here, and let's just take the mill as an example. If someone comes to you, maybe that works at the mill, they're doing routine, they're getting paid X amount every month, pending overtime, et cetera. I mean, what would you think from the sense of how would you advise them, someone who's getting that reoccurring paycheck?
Yeah.
In a perfect world.
Yeah. Exactly. At a basic level, that person's probably, if it's the employer I'm thinking of, they'll probably have some sort of pension benefit as part of their employee benefit package. So when they're getting their paycheck, they're contributing towards that pension.
Right.
So that's a big theme just at a high level. Everybody's different, but if someone's got that steady income for a really long time period, you can track through financial planning software, various things, how much they can save.
Different scenarios.
So you'd pick a retirement target date, but, retirement looks so different nowadays. You can kind of hang back and do consulting work after you retire, and it doesn't really mean what it used to mean.
My people are going to hate me for this, but retirement is for quitters.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody.
Yeah, my partner says he says expirement over retirement.
Exactly. That's probably a better way to say it. Yeah. I like his idea.
But yeah, it's true. Everybody's got a different scenario for their life that they want.
Yeah.
So you got to dig into what that person wants. But if it's a traditional style retirement, if they turn 65 and they're walking out the door,
right.
Even like the psychological, social things are important too. Like, do you have any fraternities that you're a part of? Do you go to church? Are you plugged in somewhere?
Yeah.
The goal is not necessarily, how many more dollars can I make you on this plan? It's how are we going to use this as a tool to get you the best quality of life?
Yeah, exactly.
That's always what it has to. That's what keeps me grounded when talking to people. It could look totally different for one person versus another person.
Yeah, there's no same, whether they say, one size fits all.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to look at it different. And to that point, retirement is an opportunity to enjoy, your hard work. To get to that point, you obviously have to plan for it. One of the other things here is we're starting to see a movement. We've called them boomerang families. We have new families like yourself that have come into our community. There is attraction, for folks to come here and bring new businesses. What kind of infrastructure do you see present or absent, that help those families? Sure.
I see some sectors, actually growing. The Virginia Tech did a study on economic opportunities last year. They dug into that a little bit and said, some jobs were impacted by COVID, but there were actually a few sectors, I think, in the education and healthcare sectors that grew, maybe because of aging population or health reasons because of the impact of the pandemic.
Right.
But you do see a mix of different industries growing. Everybody was hit by COVID, but in terms of maybe like just centering it on financial infrastructure, what you need is it's almost like a football team. From a financial perspective, every player on that football team is going to be supportive to you in some way.
Yeah.
You being your wealth being the football. How are we going to get the football down the field? Your running back could be your CPA. They're going to do your tax returns and try to help you get the most return. Your insurance agent is going to be your offensive line. They're going to protect you in the pocket and make sure that you for risks up ahead. Your portfolio managers are the wide receivers. They're trying to make you some more return on your money. The coach is the financial planner.
Yeah.
The quarterback is the advisor. So that's the way I look at it in terms of what do businesses, small business owners need. You need your financial football team, and everybody plays a part in that. The Highlands has a lot of great pieces of that football team. I would say planning, investment advice, there's an opportunity for growth. I think that's one area where there's probably not enough representation here.
Yeah. Say it's, along that line, people want to start a small business or they're coming into this area. Let's focus, on the small business owner in general. What kind of, I don't want to call them a mistake, but what kind of challenges do those small business owners maybe have in the first few years that maybe you've seen?
Yeah. A big one, and it seems like it is a common sense thing, but there's a few really basic things that you can do to get on the right foot, and that is pay attention to cash flow and even having a written business plan. There are a ton of free resources out there, like the Virginia SBDC, Small Business Development Corporation. Again, sorry for the acronym soup again. But there's a ton of stuff out there. If you are thinking about starting a business or moving to Virginia, there's localized spots. I think the SBDC has one for the Roanoke, New River Valley area, but it covers us in the Highlands. You can get on their website. You can schedule an appointment with a consultant, and they will tell you how to do things right. Cash flow is a big deal. If you are, even if you're a profitable business, there's still a chance that your business can suffer and not do well. Even if you're making more money on that T-shirt you sell or that coffee cup you sell, if you're ordering too much inventory and borrowing to do that, and you haven't established a good agreement with your lending partner, then you could be creating a big cash flow problem that surfaces in a year or 2 years, and your business could go under because of that.
Yeah.
So there's, I would say the two things is, basic written business plan, reaching out to resources that are free and available here, and then paying attention to cash flow and cash flow analysis.
So we've had some recent, business challenges here, and again, not naming names.
Mm.
Obviously, that cash flow issue, I think, is one of the big ones, and the turnover in revenue and how getting people in the door, and
Yep.
and so, we wish, obviously, we wish everyone the best. As a small business owner, it's a difficult kind of
Yeah.
row to hoe, right?
Yeah.
Right, and it's not for everybody.
Right.
And that's kind of this, our small town reality. We are not a opulent community. We're hardworking, mainly blue collar community here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you compare our community with others, there are advantages such as, home ownership, cost of a new home, or cost of homes is considerably lower than you may find in other communities like a Roanoke or Richmond or the Tidewater. In your opinion, what factors should individuals consider when evaluating home ownership as part of their overall financial picture?
Yes. Home ownership is huge. I would say that, you don't necessarily have to own a home. I think the old classic American dream is, you buy a house, you pay off that mortgage, and
White
you've
picket
got
fence.
the white picket fence,
Yeah.
and then you retire at 65 and sit in your house, and that's it.
Yeah.
A lot of that traditional idea of wealth building and what's part of your picture, it's all customized and it's all flexible now. So home ownership is still huge. Most wealthy Americans, I say, would happen to own a home and or own some type of property or real estate. It's part of their mix. So with someone looking at investing in this area or starting in this area, they need to be looking at cost of living comparison. And let's just say in the state of Virginia, Northern Virginia is probably more expensive in general.
Right.
The homes are more expensive.
Right.
So everything I'm seeing here in the Highlands is really screaming opportunity. If somebody values that home ownership idea, this is a perfect place to look at. And we could do a whole separate episode probably on housing, housing.
We need to, because we've had this conversation with Ken McFadden, and we've had this conversation, I think, with, a couple other individuals as well. Just thinking back, I think we ought to get together and kind of have maybe a panel discussion on just housing and access to housing and quality of housing and addressing shortfalls. Right. One of the, our community, as I mentioned, we're hardworking folks. You got people who may be working more than one job. The economy is tough. Gas prices are high. People take second jobs. Some people take third jobs. God bless them. But when you look at that from a financial perspective, 1 month they make more, 1 month they may make less. How do you advise someone like that who maybe has a turbulent monthly employment income? Yeah. How would you do that?
That would be a little more complicated, but it's kind of like you look at everything from a business perspective. A lot of the ideas that businesses do to run smoothly, you can do at a personal level too. You can almost think of yourself as a business. You are a business. You're making money, and at your job or whatever, and cash flow is still important. Cash flow analysis. So if there's a month that your income is going to be tighter, you could do a cash flow analysis. Say I need to save X number of dollars to get me through to this point. So I'm going to look for an investment product that's going to protect that, or just make sure I can save it and be diligent about how much do I actually need.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy answer, but it takes some planning. And I just say you analyze. The first step is you just analyze your income each month and find patterns. then you can tackle and say, here's the problem child here. The month of August is a low income month.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to invest in ahead of time to get me to a better income.
Just a little bit more to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
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 And we've kind of mentioned this too, how to, people come here and they kind of build their life with a purpose. Or you just don't randomly show up in Allegheny Highlands. You come here for a reason. And, just as you've done, just as I came back here late in life to raise my family, so when you think about that, what are some of the key financial trade-offs that people should be aware of when deciding between staying here or coming here or maybe moving away? Because one of the hurdles we do have in this community is our youth are leaving. They're migrating away for opportunity.
Yeah.
How do we counter that? So, back to the question, what advice would you give them?
Sure. Yeah, it's a problem, I'd say, in maybe even not just here, a lot of localities. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, moved to Aiken, South Carolina, and that's what all my high school buddies were saying. They're saying, I just can't wait to get out of Aiken. I can't wait to get out of here. And then, 10 years later, I'm talking to some people I stay in touch with, and they're like, yeah, I found a house here, and it's not so bad. It's like a lot of people I talk to here, it's the same story. They're like, I worked in Richmond for a long time, but something brought me back here.
Yeah.
And I really actually, wow, I actually enjoy life here. If you're looking for stuff to do, there are a ton of amenities here that can enrich your quality of life.
Yeah.
Natural scenic beauty. There is economic infrastructure here. It's in a redevelopment phase, but people here are very much alive and thriving. So if I'm, I guess financial trade-offs, I would kind of just think bigger picture. What do you really want out of life? In Tampa, I was keeping up with the Joneses. That's the lifestyle in maybe a big city like that. But is that really what I want? Is that the environment I want to raise my kids? Maybe something a little bit slower pace, that has a ton of fun activities to do. Maybe that's the right thing for me.
Yeah. Bright lights, big city.
And it happens to cost less because there's a lot of stuff you can do for free.
Yeah. It's a common theme. We're revisiting some common themes here, folks that we've spoken to. You graduate, if you don't have that anchor here, that anchor job, whether that's at one of the big employers, you go to college, you follow that. But at some point, there's this opportunity to come back to what right? Come back to home. And we wish more folks would see it that way and follow through.
Yeah.
Kindly to follow that theme, what's the one thing you wish more people in this region understood about their own financial potential?
The one thing I would say is I wish that people would explore all of their options. There's a book I read. It's actually called The Psychology of Financial Planning. And there's a doctor, his name I think it is, let me see if I can get this right, Brad Klontz. Mm-hmm. He talks about this concept that he actually coined called money scripts. Money scripts is almost like, it's in the name, it's a script, but it relates to how your history, how like even your family has impacted the way that you invest money or think about money. And I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
I once I read that book and started thinking about what's my money script, it really opens up, just kind of how people can be locked into a certain thing, and you just do it because your dad did it or your parents did it or your grandparents did it. And that's what I would really wish that people would think about is, what's my money script, and how can I, as an advisor, my job is to help someone be a well-rounded investor, a well-rounded individual, show them all their options, and then through our relationship, help them find what's going to be the best thing for them. So that's what I would recommend to somebody is like try to think and look for different options from what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea, and not a unique thought process, because I know there's a couple other guys out there that have similar written similar books, right? But it all comes back to your financial education, your financial literacy.
Yeah.
Clark, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It's been a very interesting conversation.
Yes.
I think relevant to everybody and how they look at saving for their future, buying a home, taking care of their family, sending their kids to college. If you're out there and you have questions, then I would encourage you to go find Clark's website, all right, or reach out to him. He's easy to find around town.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Janie has a website. You can use that as well. Do your homework. Right.
I like it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks for joining us.